Your being here right now is not a coincidence. There is a reason you felt drawn to keep searching, to keep looking for something that would finally make sense of what you've been feeling. This message didn't find you by accident. Something within you has been reaching outward for clarity, for reassurance, for a sign that what you feel is real. For some time now, maybe days, maybe weeks, maybe even longer, you've been carrying a quiet weight. You've kept it to yourself, unsure if anyone else would truly understand. You stayed silent because you didn't want to be dismissed, told you were imagining things, overanalyzing, or holding on to something that wasn't there. But even in that silence, there has been a voice within you that refused to disappear. That inner voice has been persistent. It has followed you through still mornings and restless nights. It has spoken in the quiet spaces, even when you tried to ignore it. You distracted yourself, filled your time, tried to move past it, but the feeling remained. That's because you didn't create it. It didn't come from nowhere. It's something deeper trying to rise into your awareness. Now consider this. What if what you've been carrying isn't a burden at all? What if it's actually a signal, something clear and intentional coming from within you? What if it stays because it isn't rooted in wishful thinking, but in a deeper knowing your mind is only beginning to understand? There is a truth you've sensed before, but hesitated to fully accept. Fear, past hurt, and caution made you question yourself. You told yourself it was too intense, too sudden, too overwhelming to be real. Yet no matter how much you tried to suppress it, it kept returning. There's a reason for that. You are being guided to understand why this connection affects you the way it does. Why it feels so different. Why it holds depth even in distance. Why silence between you doesn't feel empty, but instead feels full, charged with something unspoken. Your intuition hasn't let go, even when your mind has tried to rationalize everything away. You feel this because it matters. What you're experiencing is not random. It isn't something fleeting or meaningless. It's recognition, something that exists beyond logic, beyond explanation. It touches a deeper layer of your being, something familiar that you can feel but not fully put into words. You've tried to step away from it. You've tried to make sense of it logically, to dismiss it, to move on. But every attempt only brought you back to the same place. That's because what comes from the soul cannot be silenced by the mind. There's a reason you keep returning to this connection, a reason you feel deep down that this person didn't come into your life by chance. You're not imagining this. You're not confused. What you feel comes from a place within you that holds truth, not illusion. When you stop listening only to doubt and begin listening to your inner knowing, you realize this isn't something you invented. It's something you recognized. Still, your mind asks an important question. Is this real love or just longing? That uncertainty is natural. The part of you shaped by past pain wants to protect you. It uses doubt, fear, and caution as tools to keep you safe. But a genuine soul connection carries qualities that can't be fabricated. One of those signs is a deep sense of calm. Even when there is distance, even when there is silence, you don't feel completely lost. Instead, there is a quiet steadiness within you, a sense that what exists hasn't disappeared. It feels secure in a way you can't fully explain. That kind of peace doesn't come from external reassurance. It comes from recognition. Another sign is the way this connection has awakened something inside you. It has stirred parts of you that were once dormant. It has pushed you to grow, to reflect, to become more aware of who you are, not for the other person, but for yourself. This connection acts like a mirror and a catalyst at the same time. It reveals your depth while encouraging your evolution. What you feel isn't just emotional, it's transformative. And then there is the intensity, the way it stays, no matter how much you try to push it away. You've questioned it, resisted it, tried to lessen it, but it hasn't faded. Temporary attachments weaken over time. Loneliness disappears when it's filled, but this feeling remains, even when circumstances don't support it. That persistence is not random. What you feel is real. It wasn't imagined or forced. It entered your life for a reason, not to break you, but to shift something within you. So then why the distance? Why the silence? Why does something that feels so certain also feel interrupted? These questions weigh heavily on you, and understandably so. But here is something important to realize. What has taken root within you cannot simply be erased, not by time, not by space, not by fear. Some connections aren't meant to end. They're meant to pause. There are moments when two people are not yet ready to fully meet each other where they stand. Growth, healing, and understanding are still unfolding. In those cases, distance becomes part of the process, not a sign of failure, but a step toward alignment. This connection holds meaning beyond surface level emotion. It exists within a larger unfolding, something that operates beyond what you can currently see. There is purpose in it, purpose tied to growth, awareness, and transformation for both of you. Even if your mind tries to convince you otherwise, there is a part of you that knows this story isn't finished. Because it isn't. What you're experiencing now is not an ending. It's a pause, a space where change is happening beneath the surface. The confusion, the separation, even the discomfort, these are not signs that everything has fallen apart. They are signs that something is being reshaped. Both of you needed time. Time to grow, to release old patterns, to become more grounded in who you are. Without that, the connection wouldn't have been able to sustain itself in a healthy way. Distance, in this case, is not the opposite of connection. It's part of its development. You may see a gap, but from a higher perspective, that space is being used for preparation. There is a version of this connection where both of you meet again with clarity, with emotional readiness, without fear or confusion. You may not be able to see that point yet, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. What feels uncertain to you now is already understood at a deeper level. And this message comes to remind you not to walk away from something meaningful simply because it doesn't currently make sense. Not to confuse uncertainty with illusion. Not to let fear override what you've genuinely felt. This connection isn't here to harm you. It's here to shape you, to challenge you, to help you grow into a deeper understanding of yourself. Real connections like this don't simply disappear. They evolve. And the confusion you feel right now, it's not a sign you're lost. It's a sign you're in the middle of understanding something important. It's the space between doubt and clarity, between what you fear and what you already know deep within. To understand what comes next, you have to recognize the purpose of this phase, the quiet, the distance, the pause. Because this part of the journey is not empty. It's preparation. What you're experiencing right now is not a void, and it isn't loss. It is alignment in motion. Beneath what appears to be distance, something far more intentional is taking place. The universe is quietly reorganizing what needs to shift, mending old wounds, dissolving outdated patterns, and preparing both of you to hold a connection that carries real depth and purpose. Imagine two people who are truly meant to share something meaningful, but they meet before they are ready. The intensity would be overwhelming. Emotions would spill over without direction. Unhealed pain would rise to the surface, turning something beautiful into something unstable. Instead of nurturing growth, the bond would become a reflection of unresolved wounds. That is not what a higher force allows for something sacred. This pause exists for a reason. It is not rejection, it is protection. It is a space created with care, giving both of you time to grow into the strength required to carry what you felt without breaking under its weight. What feels like being pushed away is, in truth, a conscious step back, a necessary retreat where illusions are cleared and clarity begins to form. You are not walking separate paths to forget one another. You are walking them to become more complete within yourselves. At a deeper level, this distance is not accidental. It reflects an agreement, something understood beyond words, long before your lives intersected. A quiet promise that says, we will return when we are ready to meet this connection with stability, not fear, with understanding, not confusion. This phase asks both of you to release what no longer serves you, old emotional patterns, childhood wounds, protective barriers that once kept you safe but now block the flow of something real. It is not punishment, it is preparation. You are being guided to build a stronger relationship with yourself. Because if your sense of wholeness depended entirely on another person, the connection would eventually become heavy, filled with fear, attachment, and pressure. That's not what destiny intends for you. You are meant to feel free within love, not confined by it. Distance then becomes a kind of training ground. It brings your fears into focus, the fear of being left behind, of being alone, of not being enough. As long as those fears remain unaddressed, they shape your reality. They pull you into cycles that reflect your wounds instead of your truth. This pause is here to interrupt that cycle. It gently pushes your shadows into the light, not to overwhelm you, but to release you from them. It's an invitation to turn inward, to find stability within yourself, to recognize your own completeness. Only from that place can this connection return in its highest, healthiest form. And as you begin to move toward that inner balance, something shifts. The energy between you begins to change. It becomes clearer, steadier, more aligned, because you are not being asked to wait. You are being asked to grow. You are not stuck. You are evolving. As this transformation unfolds within you, it's important to understand that it is not happening only on your side. Even if you cannot see it, even if their silence feels empty, the same force guiding your growth is also working within them. Their journey reflects yours, not in visible ways, but in depth and purpose. While you may be leaning into understanding, they might be resisting it. While you are opening yourself to trust, they could be struggling with fear. Where you are choosing growth consciously, they may be pushed into it unwillingly. But regardless of how it looks, the process is happening for both of you. This kind of alignment does not depend on permission. It moves forward quietly and steadily, shaping both souls in ways that cannot be avoided. What you interpret as distance from them is not peace, it is internal conflict. What feels like indifference is often avoidance. They are not untouched by this connection. In fact, they may be more affected than they allow themselves to admit. They have tried to convince themselves that it meant nothing, that it was temporary, that it was simply bad timing. These are the stories the mind creates to stay safe. But something deeper continues to challenge those narratives, because truth has a way of resurfacing. The distractions they once relied on begin to lose their effect. The comfort zones they built start to feel unstable. Silence becomes louder. Memories become sharper. The very things they used to escape begin reflecting back what they've been avoiding. So even in their quiet, there is noise. Their inner world is not at ease. It is filled with thoughts they cannot fully quiet, emotions they cannot easily dismiss, and a connection that refuses to fade. The space they created to feel safe has become the place where everything echoes more clearly than ever before. Their ego has been their shield, the part that fears vulnerability, fears uncertainty, fears stepping into something it cannot control. It protects by building walls, by creating distance, by avoiding what feels unpredictable. But this kind of connection does not operate within control. It asks for honesty, and honesty challenges the ego. So while the ego builds barriers, something greater begins to dismantle them. The silence you experience now is not empty. It is being used. Piece by piece, those walls are being taken apart. The usual escapes no longer work the same way. The people and distractions that once provided comfort may start to feel distant or insufficient. They are being brought face to face with what they tried to avoid. And while it may not be visible to you, the process is just as real on their side as it is on yours. The things that once kept them occupied no longer feel the same. What used to distract them now feels empty, like it's missing something essential. In quiet moments, and even in the middle of ordinary ones, your presence returns to them without warning. Not as a craving or fantasy, but as a deep recognition. Not as something imagined, but as something undeniable. They begin to notice it in subtle, unexplainable ways. A dream that lingers longer than it should. A song that plays at the exact moment your memory surfaces. A sudden thought of you that arrives out of nowhere, yet feels perfectly timed. A shift in emotion they can't quite explain. They try to stay grounded in logic, but their intuition keeps interrupting, bringing you back into focus again and again. This isn't fixation. It's alignment unfolding. At a deeper level, their soul understands what their mind is still resisting. Their silence isn't because they've forgotten you. It's because they remember more than they're ready to face. It's because the control their ego once held is beginning to weaken. The emotions they tried to suppress have taken root in a way that can't simply be ignored anymore. For them, silence is not peaceful. It's a place of inner conflict. What they're going through is a necessary unraveling, a kind of internal darkness where the ego begins to lose its grip. Without this phase, nothing would truly change. They would return the same, guarded, hesitant, repeating old patterns. This process is breaking those patterns down. The universe is allowing them to fall apart internally, so that when they come back, they do so without the walls that once stood in the way. This is why you cannot interpret silence as absence. It is not emptiness, it is preparation. They are being reshaped from within. Their fears are surfacing. Their pride is softening. The habits and defenses they once relied on are being stripped away. This transformation isn't gentle, but it is honest. In the same way you are being refined, so are they. Both of you are standing near a shift, a moment where resistance begins to fade, where confusion starts giving way to clarity, where fear slowly loses its control. This moment isn't defined by time, it's defined by readiness. They are moving closer to a point where the discomfort of being without you outweighs the fear of returning. And when that moment arrives, their actions won't come from impulse or temporary emotion. It won't be driven by loneliness or nostalgia. It will come from surrender. A surrender of the ego, a release of denial, a willingness to face the truth they've been carrying within themselves. When they return, it won't be halfway. It will come from genuine change, an honest acknowledgement, a letting go of pride, an acceptance that what they tried to avoid is something they can no longer deny. They will recognize that the very connection they attempted to escape is the one they were meant to embrace. As this shift draws nearer, your attention is gently being guided back inward. This is a moment to slow down, to breathe, to listen to yourself more closely. Think about the signs you've been noticing. Maybe it's a recurring dream that feels too vivid to ignore, a memory that appears at unexpected times, numbers that repeat themselves in a way that feels intentional, a song that always seems to find you at just the right moment, or a feeling that arrives with such clarity it stops you in your tracks. These are not coincidences. They are signals, subtle messages pointing you toward understanding. They are part of the alignment unfolding around you. And whatever sign has stayed with you the longest, the one that brings a sense of calm or clarity, that is the one to trust. A true sign brings peace, not fear. Your intuition already knows the difference. It doesn't create confusion, it cuts through it. You are not imagining this. You are not holding on to something unreal. What you feel is not an illusion. It is something your soul has recognized even before your mind fully understood it. You are not holding on without reason. What lives inside you is real, and what is real is moving, both within you and within them. Something is shifting beneath the surface. Emotions are rising again. Awareness is sharpening. Truth is slowly revealing itself, guiding everything toward a moment that has already been set into motion. All of this, the inner change, the quiet awakening, the loosening grip of fear and ego, is leading somewhere. It's building toward a turning point you won't have to question or decode. When that moment arrives, it won't come as a vague sign or something you need to interpret. It will be unmistakable. When timing aligns at a deeper level, clarity replaces uncertainty. There's no guessing, no second guessing. What unfolds will speak for itself. The action that comes from them won't be surface level or impulsive. It won't be driven by convenience or temporary emotion. It will come from a place within them that has reached its limit of avoidance, a place that can no longer deny what it feels. It will come from someone who has faced themselves honestly and is ready to stop running. When they step forward, it will carry sincerity. There will be humility in it, openness, a willingness to express what they once struggled to admit. Because by then, they will understand that turning away from this connection has cost them more than facing it ever could. But timing like this doesn't arrive when longing is at its peak. It arrives when both people are capable of holding the connection with stability, when neither is looking for the other to fill a void, but instead choosing each other from a place of inner strength. That's why this pause was necessary. That's why distance became part of the story. You were never being prepared for someone else. You were being prepared for yourself. Now, as things begin to shift, your role is not to wait anxiously. It is to become ready to receive. And being ready to receive has nothing to do with anticipation or impatience. It's about creating space within yourself, releasing what no longer belongs there, fear, doubt, lingering resentment, so that what comes back meets you in your fullness, not in your past wounds. Because if nothing changed within you, the same patterns would repeat, the same fears would resurface, and the connection would fall back into the same cycle. That's why your growth has mattered so much. To truly open yourself to what's coming, you have to let go of control. Don't try to script how things will unfold. Don't build expectations around specific outcomes or moments. What is meant for you doesn't require force. It arrives naturally without pressure. Trust is not passive, it's alignment. Also, release any heaviness you may still carry. Holding on to pain only keeps you tied to the version of the connection that once hurt you. Forgiveness isn't about excusing what happened, it's about freeing yourself from its weight. Their silence, their distance, even their confusion, all of it played a role in shaping who you've become. It pushed you inward. It strengthened you. It helped you find parts of yourself that may have remained hidden otherwise. Let that understanding soften what still feels unresolved. And as things begin to move, stay grounded. You may notice changes, stronger intuition, meaningful patterns, moments that feel too aligned to ignore. Excitement might rise, but don't lose the calm you've built within yourself. That peace is no longer temporary, it's your foundation. Without it, the connection would feel unstable. With it, it becomes something steady and lasting. Understand this clearly. You are not the only one being prepared. While you've been growing consciously, they have been changing in their own way. Their inner world is shifting. Their resistance is weakening. What they once avoided is becoming harder to ignore. The connection is becoming more present for them, not less. And as their awareness deepens, they move closer to a point where they can no longer deny what they feel. Your growth influences that process more than you realize. When you align with yourself, it creates movement beyond what you can see. That's how this kind of connection works. It doesn't force two people together, it brings them into alignment individually until meeting again becomes natural. This distance was never meant to end anything. It was meant to refine it, to clear away what couldn't last so that what remains can stand stronger than before. Now, as this turning point approaches, there's only one thing asked of you: prepare your inner world. Because when the moment comes, it won't be uncertain. It won't carry confusion or doubt. It will arrive with a clarity that settles everything at once. This is where everything you felt begins to take form in reality. What once existed only as intuition starts becoming visible. What felt distant begins to draw near. What was unclear becomes steady and defined. Nothing about this is accidental. Every moment that brought you back to this connection had purpose. Every sign, every feeling, every sense of knowing, it all led you here. You were never chasing something unreal. You are following something deeply rooted within you, and they feel it too. Even if they haven't always understood it, even if they tried to push it aside, it hasn't left them. Because connections like this don't fade, they transform until they're fully recognized. What is meant for you continues to call until it is answered. And now that answer is getting closer. But here's the truth that matters most. The real gift isn't just their return. It's who you've become, the strength you've built, the clarity you've gained, the way you've learned to stand on your own without losing your ability to feel deeply. That is what allows this connection to exist in a healthier, stronger way. This union isn't about two people seeking healing from each other. It's about two people choosing each other from a place of wholeness. That's why your growth was essential. When they return, it won't be to the version of you they once knew. It will be to the version of you that has evolved, someone grounded, aware, and no longer defined by fear. And that changes everything. This connection will feel different, more stable, more honest, built on understanding instead of avoidance, growth instead of limitation, trust instead of fear. So as everything begins to align, allow yourself to breathe, to stay open, to trust what you've already felt. You've done the work. You've faced what needed to be faced. You've grown into someone who can hold something real without losing yourself in it. And that's why things can now move forward. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of something deeper. Trust that you are supported, that you are guided, that nothing you've experienced has been without purpose. What's meant for you hasn't been lost, it's been shaped. And what comes next will meet you exactly where you are now, stronger, clearer, and ready